Hey, Annie, welcome to Crosswalk Talk. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me, Michael. I'm really glad to be here.
We are talking to Annie F. Downs. You have a really important new book, Where Did TJ Go? It tells the story of a young boy, Sam, who is excited when his mother becomes pregnant, but then learns that his new brother, TJ, will be born very sick. TJ is born and then dies. And then Sam begins wondering, where did TJ go? Annie, this is a book filled with sadness and joy.
Yeah.
And it Listen, I nearly cried reading it, honestly. Tell me the story behind it. This is the story. This is a personal story. It's a story, I believe, of
Yeah.
your sister's
Yeah.
family.
It's our
Uh,
family.
yeah, tell me the story behind the book and why you wanted to write this book.
Yeah. And my nephews are named Sam and TJ. So
Ah,
we didn't get very creative with the story. We just told the world what happened in our family, that my sister and brother-in-law got pregnant again after Sam. Sam was about 18 months when they got pregnant again. And TJ was born with a life-limiting diagnosis. A couple of months before he was born, probably a month, my sister calls me and says, my counselor says we should read a book to Sam to help him understand TJ dying. What book should we read? Will you ask your friends? So I call around and ask counselors and pastors and some other parents who'd gone through a similar story. Nobody had the book, Michael. Nobody. I mean,
oh,
there were a couple of different ones that came across our path, but there wasn't the gospel story we wanted to tell Sam about the hope of heaven and the opportunity to feel joy and sadness at the same time. And so I wrote it. That's how it started. But honestly, Michael, it started as a gift to Sam for our family. I never intended for us to publish this. But after TJ died and my sister started reading it to Sam, I mean, I like did it on 8.5 by 11 paper and stole clip art from the internet and printed it at the local print shop and had it spiral bound and laminated. Like, it was just one copy for my nephew. And my sister would call me, Michael, and she'd say, hey, we're reading through the Where Did TJ Go book, and this page is really long. There's too many words. And Sam got really bored on this page. At the moment, I was kind of a little frustrated, like, why are you editing a story that I wrote for your kid? Like, I thought, is this part of her grief or whatever? And then I ended up sending it to my agent a couple months later, and I said, hey, will you just check with the publisher? We needed this book and it has helped Sam. And will you see if they'd be willing to step in and publish this book? And they did, and they just saw the felt need. And here we are, 1 month that we're talking, a month after the book released, and thousands of people have it in their homes. Nonprofits are buying them in groups of 25, 50, 100 books at a time to pass out to families who are trying to process a grieving parent raising grieving children.
that's unbelievable. And how long ago was this incident in your sister's
Summer
family?
of 22.
Okay, so
Yeah,
about three.
not
That's
that long.
about 3 years
Yeah.
ago. One thing that's so great about this book, Annie, is it begins with the story. And it begins with a really sad tone, but then it turns kind of midway through the book to joy. TJ is in heaven with God. Sam begins wondering, what is TJ doing? He begins kind of, I guess, daydreaming. Maybe he's riding
Yeah.
bikes. Maybe Jesus is reading him a book. Maybe he's visiting a zoo. Maybe he's riding a giraffe. So, why was that important to you that it had that kind of positive tone in it? It wasn't a somber book
Yes.
fully. And it begins with a sad tone,
Yes.
but it ends with joy. Why was that
Sure.
important?
There's one of my favorite child family counselors, David Thomas. He actually wrote a letter in the back of the book to help
Mm-hmm.
parents process what is going on in their family and give them more language of conversations with their kids. But he said, be actual and factual when you're talking to children about death and grief. And so in the book, it says TJ died. It doesn't say TJ went on to be with our ancestors. TJ went on to the Lord. It says TJ died because we wanted to be very clear with children. I feel that same factual and actual when we talk about TJ didn't disappear. He didn't disintegrate. We die on earth and we are with God in heaven afterwards. Especially we can feel really safe saying that about babies and children.
Mm.
And so for me, we wanted heaven to, you'll notice, Michael, that like in the Bible, it says that heaven has streets of gold and pearly gates and all this stuff. And we chose not to do that in the book and the illustrations because we actually wanted the kids to see it and go, hey, that looks cool, but that looks super different. They want, oh, so TJ's okay. Okay, so TJ, so I mean, the first question Sam asked after they read the book the first time, my copy, the OG version with too many words, is he said, "Mom, are there playgrounds in heaven?" And
Mm,
so they got to have this whole conversation about, what do you think, Sam? Do you think if heaven is a place where everything's better than we thought it could ever dream it would be, do you think there's playgrounds? And they have this whole conversation about playgrounds in heaven. And it has helped Sam to process now. And you may be leading us there, but and then in the book, Sam gets sad after that, that
mm,
his brother isn't with him. And I think that might be the most important part to me, is I want kids to be able to see an example and hear modeled for them. You can know what is true and still be sorry that TJ is not with us. Like, we can be
mm.
so glad for where TJ is, that he is not in pain, that we will see him again. But it is okay to also have moments where we go, oh, today's TJ's birthday, or oh, I wish TJ was here. What would it be like? Right. I mean, I thought this at Christmas. I thought, how different would our Christmas be if there was a 2-year-old instead of,
Mm.
and added into the chaos of the other. We have in our family, we have 6 under 5. And so I thought, oh man, what would it be like if TJ was here? Where it is good and right to miss people that are not with us and to have the joy knowing where they are.
What kind of feedback have you received from this since it
Ugh,
was published?
just the kindest. We have a lot of parents who read it first and cry, as you said, cry their way through it for their own experience of loss. I have a friend who lost his brother. He's the Sam in the story. But
Mm.
he's a dad now, but when he was a child, he lost his brother, and and I handed him the book and he said, "I need to wait and read this." And then texted me a few days later and said, "Okay, I got alone and read it, and it healed me too." And so we're hearing a lot of stories from adults and their of their own experience, and then of their saying, "Hey, this gave us language with our kids. This helped us." I don't tend to read reviews on books. I've written books for a long time, and a phrase I like to say is, editors are for authors, reviews are for readers, right? Like,
Yeah.
reviews don't
Yeah.
serve me. I can't fix what's broken to the people who don't like it. But with this book, it's been sweet to see all these families say, "We were looking for the book. Here's the book."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with
Amen.
all humility, I say that we were looking for the book too. And so we wrote the book. The one where you say, "Where's the book we read to our family?" Here it is.
I was going to ask you earlier, what's the audience? You wrote it with your sister in mind,
Yeah.
but I guess I can ask you, nevertheless, did you, when you sent this to the publisher, did you have in mind families of children who have passed in mind, or maybe also
Yeah.
friends of those families, classmates of those families,
Yes,
all of the above?
yes. I mean, that's one of the things we keep hearing is that friends. I had a friend last week say to me, "I bought 5 copies because I love you and support you, and I might need them someday." And a friend called today and is having a miscarriage, and I'm taking her a casserole and a copy of the book. And so we're here. I mean, 1 in 4 women have miscarriages. So if that's just miscarriages, add in stillbirth, impossible medical decisions, sickness. I mean, the number keeps growing. And so when I think about the audience that I hope picks this up, I hope a lot of us, like me, I'm not married with no kids, but have a lot of friends who are parents, and my own sister and family. And so there's that audience that you want to go have the resource on your shelf. I mean, I have the resource on my shelf. Have the resource on your shelf if you need it. And then for the families who know this story intimately, somehow they have lost a child in their family. Our hope has been that is who I thought of most, is the ones who have been looking for a way to talk to their kids about, I mean, these parents who are grieving the loss of a child. I said to another podcaster actually who has lost a child, I said, "I think y'all are some of the highest heroes I know, because not only are you dealing with your own grief, you're making breakfast. Like, you're getting up and feeding people and making sure they go to school, and helping them with their grief." And so that's who we hope this serves, is the families that have not had this and needed it. And then we hope it's on the shelves of the rest of our lives, the rest of our homes, so that when a friend does need it, we don't have to look very far to give them the resource that'll help their kids.
Any final thoughts from you before we close here? I guess the best place is nepdowns.com. And there's another website you told me about, wheredidtjgo.com. Those are the two
Yes.
websites people can get it.
Yeah, that's right. So can I tell you 2 things about wheredidtjgo.com? One of them is we have heard from all these nonprofits and groups, churches and NICUs, and that want bulk purchase. So my publisher has done 50% off and free shipping if you buy 25 or more. You can get to that through wheredidtjgo.com with the code and everything. And then the other thing that we have experienced is how many families want their children to be remembered by name. And so what we have done is there's a place at wheredidtjgo.com where you go and buy the book wherever you want to, and then you come back and I'll sign a book plate that says in loving memory of and your child's name, and they're totally free. We'll just mail them to you. And so if that would serve any of our friends listening or reading that they think, man, I want this book to be marked by the child that we lost in our family, I will happily do that, write that. And we say every name out loud and think of every family. And so far I've done about 700. And so it's just been an unbelievable honor. I'll tell you a very fast story. There's a family who posted this on Instagram. So I feel fine telling you this publicly, but it was a mom and she showed the book plate I had written to two little girls' names, Leah and Grace, two infants who had died. And she shows a video of an older brother saying, pointing at the book plate and saying, those are my sisters. And so I'm already crying, Michael. As you can imagine, I'm just teary watching this video. And then the next one is a picture of the book plate. And the mom says, because my daughters died as infant, I've never seen another adult write their name. It
Wow.
means so much to me to see someone else just write their name. And I thought, I will do this. I will do these book plates until I run out of pens, until we run out of ink, until the mail stops mailing. I mean, we will do these as long as families want another safe adult to write their children's names in memory. I'll keep writing them.